Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Legoland Florida Resort is a theme park and vacation destination in Winter Haven, Florida. It opened in late 2011, so the park is a bit over a decade old. Plenty have made videos about parks with more extensive histories, but the evolution of this park has been just as interesting as those that have been around for over 50 years. So that's why we're here. I will be going through the full history of this park, discussing every ride, every closure, and every major change. But why am I teaching you this? Can't you just look it up? Well, you can find some of it, but I'm an eyewitness of it all. I went to Legoland in its opening months. I've lived through it all. I've been several times since, so without further ado, here is the complete and perhaps unknown history of Legoland Florida. The plot of land where Legoland sits was an amusement park far before 2011. Legoland's predecessor was the iconic Cypress Gardens. Cypress Gardens opened in 1936 and was advertised as the first commercial tourist theme park in Florida. It started primarily as just the gardens and some water activities on Lake Eloise. Water skiing was quite popular in the 1940s, and Cypress Gardens even became known as the water ski capital of the world. In the 1970s and 80s, Cypress Gardens expanded in an attempt to compete with the new Magic Kingdom. Sound familiar? Well, this was obviously a struggle, and ownership changes occurred as a result. In 1985, publishing company Harcourt Brace Jovanovic bought the park to add to their collection after purchasing multiple SeaWorld units. Small world with these Florida theme parks, I suppose. The most important ownership change was in 2004, when Adventure Parks Group purchased the property. This park group decided to make Cypress Gardens a full-on amusement park, thrill rides and all. There were delays due to the harsh 2004 hurricane season, primarily Hurricane Charlie, but the park opened 6 roller coasters in 2004. Here is a list of them. Triple Hurricane, a Martin and Fleming's group wooden roller coaster named for the 3 hurricanes that had caused the aforementioned delays. Galaxy Spin, a Zamperla spinning wild mouse, now found at Fun Spot Kissimmee. Swamp Thing, a Vekoma suspended family coaster. Okeechobee Rampage, a Vekoma junior roller coaster. Fiesta Express, a Zamperla kiddie coaster. And Starliner, a PTC wooden coaster, possibly the most famous ride in the park, and the only one that is defunct and not operating at any other park in the world. The park also opened a good amount of flat rides, and this is all well and good, but it did not last. The park temporarily closed starting on November 17, 2008. It reopened early in 2009 with an expanded Splash Island water park, but every dry park ride was either closed or gone. At this point, Splash Island expanded, but Cypress Gardens became separate admission, and in the end, both officially closed on September 23, 2009. The owners were trying to keep the park in its traditional garden form, but they felt they had failed, and that is presumably what led to the closure, on top of the competition of other parks. This is where Merlin Entertainment comes in. On January 15, 2010, Merlin Entertainment announced that it planned to buy the site of Cypress Gardens to build a 5th Legoland park, and the second one in the US following Legoland California. Soon enough, Merlin had bought the land for $22.3 million. The construction period was relatively short, primarily due to the land already being fit and laid out for an amusement park, and the fact that a lot of Cypress Gardens rides were being repurposed, but I'll get to that in a minute. The park opened on Saturday, October 15, 2011, and here's a rundown of the main lands and attractions on opening day. Upon entering the park, guests would be in a land known as the Beginning. Like most entrance areas, the primary focus is shops and restaurants, but there was a fun Lego dinosaur statue and some upbeat music that set the tone for a day at the park. There was one ride in this area, Island in the Sky. Island in the Sky was a 150-foot tall rotating platform ride with panoramic views of the park, Lake Eloise, and the surrounding area for a good 15 miles. The ride featured narration, which would discuss some of the aforementioned facts, along with mentioning the best rides and attractions at the park. Thinking about this ride, honestly, it makes me super nostalgic, and it was a wonderful observation type ride I wish there were more of. The next area is Funtown, which housed the Legoland Factory Tour. This was a small and charming walkthrough attraction that showed how Lego bricks were made, with some narration that seemed to be provided by the same voice heard on Island in the Sky. The other attractions here are the Grand Carousel, a 2-story carousel with fun Lego horse designs, and the Funtown Theater, the primary 4D theater of the park, with a variety of different movies. Going counterclockwise, because that's how I always went, we reach Duplo Village. This area exists for the smallest kids, featuring a fun play area in the indoor Duplo farm, and some small rides. There's not much else to say about this land, but it provides a good time for toddlers who are too small to ride some of the roller coasters and other major thrilling rides. Moving up toward the back of the park, Lego Kingdoms is the next area. This is a fantastic area of the park, featuring the best ride of the resort, the Dragon. The Dragon features the same layout as Okeechobee Rampage, this being because it is Okeechobee Rampage, but repurposed with an extended dark ride portion before that main roller coaster part. The dark ride portion is found in a building with an impressive castle facade. The dark ride portion is impressive, each scene being lively and full of impressive Lego structures, even with the expected limited movement. The Lego Dragon near the end is the highlight, and the whole thing just feels very well done and space is used nicely. The roller coaster portion is good for what it is, definitely nothing crazy though, unlike some you might find at Busch Gardens Tampa for example. It's probably the least thrilling roller coaster in the park, but it's still so much fun. This area also has the Royal Joust, a ride where children board Lego horses and navigate a fun little course, Merlin's Challenge, an effective mini Himalaya with a Lego Merlin in the middle, and the Forestman's Hideout, a rather large and impressive wooden play structure. Now we need to come to what I would consider to be the best area of the park, Land of Adventure. Similar to Magic Kingdom's Adventureland, there is no one set time period or place the land is really themed to. It's a collection of different themes that all work pretty well together, and provide some of the best attractions in the park. The star here is Coastersaurus, which is Triple Hurricane from the Cypress Gardens days, repurposed, and in 2013 it was given GCI Millennium Flyer trains, improving the experience. This is what I consider the most thrilling roller coaster in the park. It has legitimate moments of airtime, especially in the back, and a solid speed held throughout the second half of the ride especially. The foliage around the ride and Lego Dinosaur give it a very interesting, isolated feeling. Honestly, it's if you step back in time to ride it, and I greatly appreciate that small touch. The other top tier ride here is Lost Kingdom Adventure. This Sally dark ride is quite possibly my favorite shooting dark ride ever. It is a fun Egyptian theme based on Lego Adventurer sets, and it sees a sinister man trying to steal from and ruin an ancient kingdom. All of the effects are clever and fun, the set design, while not high budget, is fantastic and very creative. Over the years, I've been able to greatly increase my score on this, and I'd call it the most re-rideable attraction in the park, and one of the most re-rideable dark rides out there. This area also has Safari Trek, a small jeep ride with some phenomenal Lego animal displays, Beetle Bounce, a junior S&S drop tower, and Pharaoh's Revenge, an indoor play area where kids can shoot plastic balls out of cannons, making for a very stacked and impressive area. Over to Lego Technic. This area is based around a set of Lego sets that were mostly realistic vehicles. The area is not highly themed at all, but there are noteworthy rides. The main one here was Project X, Legoland Florida's version of the Lego Technic Test Track coaster found at other Legoland parks. This is a mock Wild Mouse with an insane first drop and nice views of Safari Trek and some other rides. The other rides here are AquaZone Wave Racers, a dual water carousel by Zero, where you might get wet due to some water cannons operated by non-riders, and Technocycle, a pedal-powered spinner ride. The area in the back of the park is perhaps the largest, Lego City. Lego City was, and still is, an extremely popular series of Lego sets that often involve cops and other city workers solving problems. There are several excellent rides here. The most well-known by thrill seekers is Flying School. This is the repurposed Swamp Thing from Cypress Gardens, and this ride is a decent run of not being too painful and a solid introduction to more thrilling rides for young thrill seekers. It got worse over time. The best ride here is Driving School. Driving School allows kids ages 5 to 13 to drive their own Lego cars. No set track, the kids are in control, and they can explore the fun ride setup. You have tons of roads all around, and though 13 is the maximum age they say, I imagine this is a rare occurrence where kids are saying they're younger than they actually are to achieve something. It's a fun experience, and toddlers can enjoy the smaller Driving School Junior. Boating School is also noteworthy. Kids could pilot their own boat, and parents can ride this one with their kids, unlike Driving School. There are fun Lego sets around, and it's always enjoyable to watch boats inevitably bump into each other or hit a wall, and you know you're never going to let it happen when it's someone else's fault. It's always kind of enjoyable. The other great attraction here is Rescue Academy, a unique one where teams use their strength and speed to either put out a fire or catch a criminal faster than other teams. Kind of hard to explain, but it is a great interactive part of the wonderful Lego City area. There are 3 areas with little focus on rides I should mention, but they have noteworthy attractions. These are Pirates Cove, Imagination Zone, and Miniland USA. Pirates Cove is a water skiing show called the Battle for Brickbeard's Bounty. It keeps the legacy Cypress Gardens alive and has a fun pirate theme. Imagination Zone has interactive building areas for kids, particularly Build and Test. Build and Test is where kids can build and race Lego cars. This also has Kids Power Tower, a interesting drop tower you pull up on a rope, and that is how you drop. You have to climb your way up and then let go. Miniland is perhaps the most significant of any land in the park. Miniland is a staple of Legoland parks. It has impressive Lego models of real-life places. This one is a nice focus on some of the best things in Florida that are not competitor theme parks. You may think I'm about to say there's nothing in Florida, but there are things in Florida besides theme parks apparently. You have Kennedy Space Center, Daytona Speedway, and a few others. My favorite areas here are New York City, Washington DC, and the kinda out of place but comfortingly nice Pirates area. There is one final area, perhaps the most important of all, even above Miniland. That is Cypress Gardens. While much of the property has changed, a beautiful portion of the original gardens was preserved and fully reopened in 2014. Lego replicas of statues in the park are there, you have a massive banyan tree, and the stunning gazebo might be the highlight. Any walk through Cypress Gardens, whether you see these things or not, is a pleasure, and it's a nice shady break from the hotter, busier theme park portions of the property. If this history has been interesting to you so far, I'd appreciate it if you left a like. It's one click on your end, but it makes a big impact on my end. This video took several weeks to make, and small gestures like likes help it reach more people and allow me to keep making content. Furthermore, if you want to see more content like this, I hope you'll consider subscribing. This is also one click, and it will allow you to be among the very first to see new content I produce. So if you enjoyed this video and you want more to see it, and if you want more like it, I hope you'll consider making those 2 clicks. With that out of the way, let's see how the park changed after opening. So this was Legoland in 2011 and 2012. Some might see it as a cheaper version of Magic Kingdom, but there is more to it, I'd say. It has its own magic and charm. It is marketed toward that 12 and under crowd for sure, and maybe to a lesser extent the older Lego fans like myself, but the abundance of nice theming elements, solid wide lineup, and a variety of themes to appeal to different crowds make it a very solid park. I always enjoyed going in and thinking the park deserved more credit. No matter what the coaster enthusiasts or diehard theme park fan crowds thought, Legoland was bound to expand and grow. And so it did. On May 26, 2012, the Legoland Water Park opened. These slides were all repurposed from Splash Island, with only the Duplo Splash Safari being a fully new addition. You had the standard wave pool, body slides, and tube slides, with standout attractions being the Build-A-Raft River, a fun little lazy river that has Lego-looking bricks that you can attach to your raft, and Joker Soaker, one of the finest water play structures in any water park to this day. The water park is a separate fee, at the time costing $12 for guests 4 and up, but only accessible with admission to the main park. It was meant to be an affordable, extra set of attractions to encourage guests to stay an extra day or 2. Later that year, Star Wars models were added to Miniland in their own separate area. They looked excellent, and represented each film along with the Clone Wars. It was nice that Lego was able to add Star Wars stuff to the park, but don't get used to it. At this point, the park was nice. It had kingdoms, cities, adventures, Star Wars, and more. However, there were other Lego IPs that seemed perfect for new attractions and lands. As a result, Legoland got its first major new addition on July 3rd, 2013. But what was it? Well, it's common knowledge at this point that the Wizarding World of Harry Potter was a game changer for theme park attractions. It caught the attention of Harry Potter fans, and millions have visited the Wizarding World as a result. Since that addition, most theme park chains have been focusing on IP-based attractions, whether it be the quaint DC areas of Six Flags, or literally every new ride at Disney World and most other Disney parks. Many chains were focusing on name recognition with those new attractions. And since LEGO has tons of marketable IPs, it makes sense the first edition of Legoland Florida would be that kind of IP. In this case, it was The Legends of Chima. The Legends of Chima was a very new franchise at the time, the TV show beginning in January 2013. It was about anthropomorphic animals such as lions and crocodiles battling enemies who were after a powerful energy called chi. Kinda generic, but a fun little thing, and it was somewhat similar to the popular Ninjago series, and it was meant to be the new Ninjago, expecting similar fame. To bring people in, World of Chima was built in summer 2013. It was in the southeast corner of the park, kinda sectioned off from the Duplo village area. This was weird for the layout, admittedly, but the area itself looked great. The appearance was among the best in the park, primarily thanks to the fantastic headliner attraction, the Quest for Chi. This is a mock ride splash battle, where you can shoot water cannons at bystanders from your boat, and they can return the favor. On top of this, you have a downright beautiful aesthetic for the theming, mixing nice rockwork and backgrounds with figures that are made out of Legos, and a loose story that ties it together well. The grand Mount Kavora producing a cascade of water, and the crocodile tunnel with fog coming out are standout elements. The area also has an arena where you can race speedors, Lego vehicles that were part of Chima sets, and Krieger's Swamp, a small water play area for younger kids. This area didn't really bring in crowds as much as others, and with lines for Quest for Chi being short, who knew how long this area would stay around? Come 2014, Duplo Village was expanded into Duplo Valley, with small rides such as the Duplo Train and Duplo Splash Pad being re-themes of the original Land's Kiddie rides. This was a small, barely noteworthy part of the park's change in the 2010s, but it was something that is worth noting, because it does tie into the Lego Factory tour being closed. The facility is now only a gift shop, but 2015 brought much bigger changes. On May 15, 2015, Legoland Florida became Legoland Florida Resort, with the opening of its hotel. The Legoland Hotel followed Legoland California opening its own just a month earlier. The hotel is just to the left of the park entrance and has 152 rooms. There are a few very interesting features here. You have a large swimming pool, a mini golf course, a beautiful boardwalk on Lake Eloise, a disco elevator, a creative workshop for Lego building, and rooms themed to pirates, adventure, kingdoms, and Lego Friends. This last one ties into another 2015 edition. Lego Friends sets are similar to Lego City in how they are mainly buildings and that kind of thing, but there was a unique aesthetic that was primarily marketed toward the young girl demographic that liked Barbies and LOL Surprise. While Lego fans were not huge on Friends, I know I wasn't, the groups that were interested in the theme park seemed to enjoy the new Heartlake City area of Legoland Florida. Even I'll admit, I like the area of the park. It had a fun Zamperla disco called Mia's Riding Adventure, themed to horses, and it was a nice park aesthetic that kinda looked downright gorgeous. There was a bit of a garden thing going on with a nice fountain, and this was a solid investment for the park, but not nearly as major as what was to come. I mentioned earlier that Legends of Chima was meant to be the new Ninjago. That didn't really work out, as the show got only 3 seasons and lasted about a year and a half. On the other hand, Ninjago continued, and somehow continues to thrive. The show is nostalgic for many at this point, and is still entertaining kids to this day, even getting a movie in summer 2017. Therefore, it was inevitable that Legoland Florida built its own LEGO Ninjago World area. Following the creation of LEGO Ninjago World in Legoland Billund in Denmark and Legoland California, Florida got its own on January 12, 2017. Something you may have guessed based on my discussion of where World of Chima was placed, is that Legoland is a relatively small plot of land, and virtually no room to expand. The park is 145 acres, a decent size, and the second largest of Legoland parks, but it was built on Cypress Gardens. The preservation of said gardens is important, and there were some odd placements of attractions from day one that kinda meant new lands had to be squeezed in. And this happened with Ninjago World. The area wraps around Coaster Saurus, with the one ride in the land being entirely behind the roller coaster, and the warehouse it's in being visible from the roller coaster's loading platform. This attraction is Ninjago the Ride. Since they had little space, Triotech was the perfect company to make this ride. This is a shooting dark ride, and it does not come equipped with a blaster, but instead has motion sensors, so you can use your hands to shoot elemental powers at Ninjago's enemies on the screen. Ninjago is one where the ninjas have elemental powers like its avatar, sort of. And this is a screen-based ride, unlike Lost Kingdom Adventure, so there's a good contrast, but I don't like screen-based rides as much as practical sets, so even though I don't like this one as much as Lost Kingdom Adventure, it's a favorite amongst many. Some call it best ride in the park, and it is a fun one for Ninjago fans, except for the fact that you shoot lightning at ghosts, when every fan knows that the only way to beat a ghost is with water. The surrounding area is excellent, with the pavement and structures greatly resembling Ninjago architecture, and the small play structures being themed to ninja training. This is a solid new area for the park, but there was more to come for the resort. World of Chima closed on May 29, 2017, so there were only a few months where you could experience Ninjago and Chima at the same time. I did not get this opportunity, but this closure, along with that of Island in the Sky, showed that the park was definitely getting ready to make some changes. The Legoland Hotel was nice, but it was not enough. On April 7, 2017, Legoland Beach Retreat was opened. This resort featured a hotel with 166 rooms and had 83 bungalows, built to look like Lego sets. There's also a pool, but despite the name Beach Retreat, there is no access to Lake Dexter for recreation, which I assume is for good reason, but it's still kinda weird that you can't actually go to the beach on your beach retreat. A shuttle took people between the park and hotel, and this addition showed how Legoland was continuing to expand however it could. 2017 was a big year for the park, but things would get bigger. 2018 brought some changes. Project X received a new name, the Great Lego Race, and a new theme to go with it. It also got VR headsets. These had been somewhat popular at Six Flags parks, but unlike those, the Great Lego Race is actually decent. The VR displays are visually impressive and sync up perfectly with the ride. And the ride itself's always been fun. That said, wearing a headset on the ride adds some jerkiness that makes it overall a bit less enjoyable. But at least we got a massively improved queue and a ride that still fits the area pretty well. Another small addition was a new LEGO Star Wars mini-land themed to The Force Awakens. This display came over 2 years after the movie was released, but it still looked great. And now we get to 2019. What a year that was. With World of Chima gone, the park can make a new themed area. But which IP would they choose this time? The answer is the Lego Movie. The first ever Lego Movie World opened at Legoland Florida on March 27th, 2019, on the old Chima plot of land. This may now be the best area of the park, next to Land of Adventure, as far as attractions go. The flagship attraction of the land, and possibly the park, is Lego Movie Masters of Flight. Masters of Flight is a flying theater with 3 levels and a lot to discuss. Let's get into it. In order to match parks such as Disney and Universal, this one has made a bit of an experience rather than just a ride, like the others in the park. The show building is designed to look like The Dog, which is a building found in Cloud Cuckoo Land in the Lego Movie. I imagine those who have not seen the Lego Movie are confused, but it looks good. After going through the main queue, you will enter a room where a fun instruction video plays to explain safety features and the ride's main story. While the pre-show itself is just looking at a screen, the premise and jokes are so charming and funny that I consider this one of my favorite pre-shows ever. That said, it probably helps that the Lego Movie is among my favorite films of all time. The ride itself sees you board the triple-decker flying couch, traveling through multiple Lego Movie locations in a fight against Duplo and Lego friends. I like that even the park now recognizes that Lego Friends is the villain. This is a flying theater in the same vein as Soarin' at Epcot or any other park that has Soarin'. However, I dare say this improves upon Soarin' in multiple ways. The fact that there's an action-based storyline makes the movement much more exhilarating and dynamic than the calm but ultimately lackluster Soarin'. And this one perfectly recreates the visuals of Lego films, while the imperfections are quite apparent on Soarin', which tries to look realistic and falls into that trap of Lion King 2019. It has the scent technology that Soarin' does as well, and Lego Movie Masters of Flight is a solidly immersive experience. Honestly, I'd be willing to bet that if this exact attraction was built at Disney World, it would be considered a high-tier or top-tier attraction. This kinda gets slept on, because it's at Legoland and not Disney or Universal, and it was a great addition to the park. 2 more rides are found at Lego Movie World. Unikitty's Disco Drop is the 3rd small drop tower in the park. I don't know why we needed 3, but this is probably my favorite. It's made by Zero, it spins around, and it's fun but not too thrilling. The other ride is the Battle for Bricksburg, a reskin of Quest for Chi. This ride is honestly my biggest issue with the new land. It's still solid, the splashing is fun of course, but the reskin doesn't really work. The new theming is a bit more bare bones and is far less aesthetically pleasing, with Mount Kavora being, instead of an awesome rocky mountain floating in the sky, it's now just a Duplo octopus. The original looked much cooler. It's a pretty major downgrade. It's fun nonetheless, and at least it doesn't have to be the headliner of the land. If it did, this land would have fallen flat. But Masters of Flight was a huge success, it seems to be the most popular ride in the park, so the new land, definitely a fantastic investment. Adding to possibly the best investment in the park's history, Electronic wait time signs were added all around to kind of modernize the park to some extent. It helped compete with other Florida parks as well, and in general, 2019 was a big year for the park. Now it's time to see if Legoland Florida could handle the pandemic. In 2020, the park closed in mid-March, but it reopened in May, like some other Florida parks. On June 25th, 2020, a third hotel opened. Seeing this one's construction was weird. It was called Pirate Island Hotel. This hotel had 150 rooms, and it is right next to the original Legoland Hotel. And I admit, it looks a bit cluttered. The hotel is similar to Legoland Hotel, just with a different theme. But that's okay, cause who doesn't love pirates, right? After Lego Movie World, we didn't really see any major additions to the actual theme park in 2020, 2021, or 2022. They were all kind of stagnant years, and probably the longest period the park went without a new major addition or change. These are also the years I know least about, having not really gone much at all. The only major things that happened, to some extent, they're not that major, were the temporary closure of the Brickbeard Water Ski Show, what I believe to be a permanent discontinuation of the Great Lego Race VR, and the removal of the mini land at the Star Wars parts on January 6, 2020. This happened at other Legoland parks as well, and Legoland California spokesperson Jake Gonzalez says it was part of an effort to keep the guest experience fresh. This kind of implies that the addition of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge to nearby Disneyland and Disney World parks meant the US Legoland parks had their Star Wars areas overshadowed, and maybe even they were legally required to move the models out of their parks. That said, the best was yet to come. In 2021, an announcement that would shake the theme park industry was made. Legoland Florida would be getting a second gate, Peppa Pig theme park. Alright, I can't put up this charade, it's not that great. The park opened on February 24th, 2022. This park was targeted at an even younger audience than Legoland. The entire park is reported to only be 4.5 acres, and is separate admission from Legoland, with a 2-day 2-park ticket being offered. None of the rides or attractions here are nearly as thrilling as the main roller coasters at Legoland, but they fit for the audience they were meant for. The most well-known ride is Daddy Pig's roller coaster. This Zamperla Jr. coaster features both a lift hill and a tire launch, and I have heard that it provides decent forces for kids to enjoy. Despite the small size, this ride is arguably more well-known amongst coaster enthusiasts than the young kids it's meant for. The idea of having a roller coaster themed to Daddy Pig around that same time Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens Tampa, one of the best roller coasters in the world, opened, was quite a riot. There were jokes about how the ride was so intense that only Daddy Pig could sit in the front, and how it had to launch in a lift hill so it must be the best. The ride even got second place in a USA Today poll on the best new ride of 2022, mainly because of thrill seekers voting for it. In terms of actual merit, the layout's good for what it is, and the queue going through Peppa Pig's house is genuinely really well designed. The park has other rides similar to Legoland Florida but on a smaller scale. Grampy Rabbit's Dinosaur Adventure is like the Royal Joust. Mr. Bull's High Striker is like Beetle Bounce. And there are spinners here in the form of Granddad Dog's Pirate Boat Ride and Peppa Pig's Balloon Ride. In general, play areas are a great focus here. You have free games at the Fun Fair, beanbags and Peppa Pig episodes on a big screen at the cinema, a hedge maze at George's Fort, an interactive walking trail at Madame Gazelle's Nature Trail, rideable bikes at Peppa's Pedal Bike Tour, the Muddy Puddles Splash Pad, the sandbox area Pirate Island Sand Play, and playgrounds such as Grandpa Pig's Greenhouse, Rebecca's Rabbit's Playground, and Peppa Pig's Treehouse. This park has an impressive collection of kid-friendly attractions, but it's definitely quaint by Florida theme park standards. That said, it serves its purpose and does have some genuine strong qualities. The main one is the aesthetic. The creatives nailed the appearance of Peppa Pig, and it translates to real attractions quite well, in a way that's pleasant to look at and recognizable for the youngsters. The park is certainly well designed, given it was built in a part of a parking lot. The addition of Peppa Pig theme park is a pretty major one, and it adds a little something to pad out the day if one is interested. And now, we come to 2023. The first major addition to Legoland Florida happened just a few months ago. It's been a while since we got one, but now we have Pirate River Quest. This boat ride is an homage to the days of Cypress Gardens. Back in those days, there were boat rides offered throughout the gardens. Legoland has brought this back, where kids and adults can board a boat that is not on a set track. An experienced boat captain guides you through the Cypress Gardens and outside in the mangroves. An interesting bit of trivia, is that Pirate River Quest captain Morris McCauley was a boat captain for the original Cypress Gardens. The ride incorporates a nice story about a captain finding stolen treasure. Captain Redbeard in this case has some curse put on him, blah blah blah, but this ride has some similarities to Snake River Expedition at Cedar Point. It is a boat ride, it's somewhat an homage to an old type of boat ride they used to have, but it adds a bit of a fun story to it. And an added bonus of this ride is that it's not just story based, it provides a nice scenic boat ride through the beautiful Cypress Gardens, giving a perspective very different from the walking trails. The ride is 20 minutes long, which may bore some, but those who have attachment to Cypress Gardens or just enjoy looking at beautiful foliage should love it. The ending is particularly fun, with a boat going into Lake Eloise, weaving through some mangroves. A small bit of history is given, and the finale is great. This ride is a phenomenal addition. The amount of respect this park shows the original Cypress Gardens is admirable. Other park companies definitely would have removed the gardens entirely for a new attraction, but Merlin opted to add some small Lego props, leave the gardens intact without intruding, and make a fun ride in the process. Kids will love it for the nice adventurous story with the pirates, and adults should be happy with a relaxing boat ride through one of the most beautiful areas of any theme park. This is an attraction that other chains should honestly take notes from, and it's only fitting that the newest addition ties right back to what started it all for this park. So that brings us to the present. Legoland Florida had a very eventful 11-year run so far, with tons of changes and new additions, and interestingly, this time period was much more interesting for Legoland than other big Florida parks, such as Disney's Magic Kingdom. Not that Magic Kingdom had a bad decade, it just didn't change a whole lot until a few months ago where we got Tron and Lost Splash Mountain. So what comes next for Legoland Florida? A wing coaster like Maximus at Legoland Germany? A submarine ride like at Legoland California? Or maybe something completely new? Whatever it is, I am excited. Legoland Florida is not a park that many seem to love, with most seeing it as just for kids. I, on the other hand, have loved it for a long time. Of course nostalgia plays into this, but isn't that what plays into most people's love for theme parks? Legoland really does hold up, with a diverse collection of fun rides, impressively themed lands, and the unique but well-preserved Cypress Gardens. Given its affordability compared to other Florida parks, I do recommend a visit. The park is now the best it's ever been, and I only see it getting better in the future. Legoland gets approximately 1.5 million visitors a year. If the history I have discussed here has interested you, I think you would be wise to add to that number and go in with an open mind. The park doesn't have the same name recognition or budget of Disney's Magic Kingdom or Universal Studios, but it proves that even with a lower budget, you can make a magical experience with some creativity. It's not all about the most highly themed or immersive experience, but it's about being fun. And isn't that what theme parks are all about? Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did. It's a small gesture on your end that makes a big difference. Also, be sure to subscribe for more videos. If this does well, I'll be encouraged to make more big projects like it. I'll see you next time.